Hey everyone, welcome to my channel and to my next video. I'm Clifford Berger and I help men rebrand themselves for success in midlife. I have a blog and I have a website where I provide perspectives on adult development and life and style issues for men. I provide some practical stuff and tips and ideas, as well as some philosophical things along the way as well. You can find my blog and my website at cliffordberger.com. And by the way, even though I write mainly for midlife men in, say, their 40s and 50s, I also welcome female readers and younger readers and subscribers, and I have quite a few of them. Well, in the last video, I explained why I call my blog A Seasoned Life, comparing the stages of our lives to the seasons of a year. Also, kind of having in mind the idea of seasoning something to maturity, like setting firewood out to dry and to age and mature over the course of a year so that it's ready for the fireplace or the stove the next year. So in my last video, I promised that I would devote the next several videos to explaining each season in sequence: spring, summer, fall, and winter. And so we're starting with spring this time in this video, even though I know hardly any of my readers or subscribers to this channel are in the springtime of life. But even so, I think it's important to have all of the seasons in mind, be conversant with them, be conversant with the developmental tasks and things that need to happen in those seasons so that we can help the people around us, the people in our lives, family members and friends along the way with their journey as well. So talking about the springtime of life and thinking of it in comparison to literal springtime, what's that period of time look like? Well, normally we consider springtime to be the period from, say, February until May or early June. Technically, I think February is a winter month, but I'll call it spring for our purposes here. Keep in mind that each of these seasons also has probably an early and a later phase within it. We think of early spring being different from late spring, and we have early summer and late summer, and they're not the same, even though they may be within the same season. So when you're thinking about our lives, realize that with whatever season you're in, you might be on the continuum of where you're at within that season. So in the springtime, we think of early spring as like February through, let's say, April. This is comparing it to our lives. This would be the season of like infancy through childhood and adolescence until about age 20. This is a season for sprouting, for growing, blossoming. It's a time when plants and things in the garden and trees need the care and the nurture of others. They need support. It's a season of growth, and preparation, independence. Things need protecting in the springtime of the year. It's a wonderful and energetic season when really anything seems possible. And spring does have many possibilities, but also a lot of unknowns. The blossoms, for example, that come on the fruit trees are vulnerable. A hailstorm or a late frost can destroy them and cause a poor harvest later on. But for the most part, spring, early spring, is a time for setting things on and for new beginnings. And again, compare that to the infancy and the childhood, let's say, the teenage years of life. Well, late spring we tend to think of as being more like May and into June. Where I live, we tend to think of summer as starting after Memorial Day, even though it doesn't technically start until a little later in June. But really, where I live in Portland, Oregon, even June can be a spring month in terms of the weather and the things that happen. But in this late spring period of time, that initial overall growth and sprouting up has slowed down, and the plants typically are more in the shape and form that they'll be later on. The blossoms typically are gone by then, and the trees and the plants are giving their energies to setting on new fruit. Both the fruit and the plants or the trees may not yet look like what they will become, but you can see them in their form. You can see the fruit on the trees in May, let's say, as an undeveloped shape, an unripened shape of what it later will be. You can look at an apple, a very small apple on an apple tree or a cherry or something like that, and you can tell that that's going to be an apple. It's going to be a cherry, and yet it's not mature yet. It's not fully ripened, and that's normal. That's expected in that springtime season of life, which might go up into from late teens into the 20s. Well, compare that to human development and people who are in that season of life, and you'll see that typically they are gaining more independence. They don't need as much care and nurture as when they are quite a bit younger than that. More independent decisions. Life decisions are being made in the late spring of life that will shape and form what later maturity looks like and what a person experiences in later years. Decisions in terms of the kind of education or vocational preparation that one is going to do. Decisions about relationships and where you're going to live, and a lot of those things. Foundational beliefs often are formed and shaped in that period of time in a profound way. And so that season of growth and preparation extends up into that period of time. And keep in mind that with each of these seasons, you're preparing for the next season, and not while at the same time you are experiencing what's happening in that season. Don't ever forget that it's not just about preparing. Anyone in any season of life needs to remember to enjoy and experience and live in the moment of that season, but always remember that you're preparing for what will come. So I hope that this is helpful, both in terms of reflecting back on that season, if you indeed have lived and matured beyond that, but I hope it's helpful also for how you might think about the seasons, the season of springtime that younger people in your life are experiencing, your children or grandchildren or other young people who are in your life, and ways that you might be able to help them along their journey as well. See you in the next one.